Scarlet runner beans. You want them a little bit bigger than this, but these little, lovely little orange flowers, they bring in so many hummingbirds. It's crazy. Here we go. So, scarlet runner beans, you want to harvest them at around this size here, a regular size bean. They can grow to be about 1 foot long. Once they get that big, they're just tough, mealy, and stringy, and all nasty and stuff. But at this size, oh man, this is one of the best tasting beans out there, and it brings in hummingbirds. You know, it belongs in more gardens all over the place here. It grows fantastic here in Kent County, New Brunswick, and you know, in our climate, it's a perfect thing to grow here. Grow nice and tall. Make sure you got a good sturdy trellis with a cross piece on there to give it some lateral stability. Sticks, strings, good dirt. That's all you need to grow scarlet runner beans.
When picking your beans, you want to grab a hold of the vegetable and pinch the stem with your thumb and index finger and snap it without pulling on the vine. With beans, the more you pick, the more you get. If you take care of your plant and pick often, you'll get much better harvest. En cueillant l'Écosse, c'est mieux de pogner les légumes, pincer et briser la tige avec le pouce et l'index sans tirer sur la vigne. Si on cueille fréquemment sans endommager la plante, on peut assurer une meilleure production.
All right, so here's another thing we're working with. Different planting technique for corn. So we planted our corn here in the understory of the corn, basically like a forest type of habitat. In the understory, we've got our yellow snap beans. Now, one of the benefits of growing your beans at the base of your corn plants like that, my wife was saying that today, and I never really clued in. And yeah, you're right. Is the shade. When you're working in here, down underneath all right down low down here, it's pretty shady in here, and it's kind of private, and you know, so you can pick your beans in the shade while you wait for your corn. How cool is that?
Cucumber plants are sensitive too, so while picking, just push sideways on the stem to snap it without pulling on the vine. Les cocombes sont délicats aussi. Quand on les cueille, c'est bon de pousser sur la tige d'un bord pour la briser sans tirer sur la vigne. Plants want to produce mature seeds, then shut down for the rest of the season. It's important to pick all your beans, snow peas, cucumbers, before the seeds get too big. Be thorough. Sneaky plants try to hide mature vegetables. Les plantes veulent produire des graines matures et ensuite se retirer pour le restant de l'année. C'est important de tout cueillir l'Écosse, les pois mangent tout et les cocombes avant que leurs graines soient trop grosses. Soyez méticuleux. Les plantes essayent toujours d'en cacher.
So here the beets and carrots are growing together. So the purpose was to throw both seed types together, but basically wherever the beet seeds didn't take, the carrot seeds would. And one gave shade to the other, so the beets grew first. The carrots are our weeds. We replaced wild weeds with domesticated ones. So that way, you know, they work together to grow and fill up my bed and maximize the production in here, taking away any space in your garden for weeds. And here we go. This is what we're looking for. Now, don't get rid of the greens, because that's yummy too. That's part of your harvest right there. So, you know, the beets are really nice when they're small like this, nice and tender. You don't want to let them get too big because they'll get woody, but this is a good size right here. See that? Lorsqu'on cueille nos légumes à feuilles comme ceci, la chose à faire pour augmenter la productivité, c'est de prendre puis de cueillir dans le haut, puis dans le bas, puis toujours laisser le milieu de la plante. Comme ça, la plante continue à produire, puis on peut recueillir de nouveau très prochainement. Ça fait que ce site, ça va continuer à grandir, puis ça va faire les prochaines feuilles. C'est de là qu'on veut toujours, ça va toujours pousser. So there you go. Harvest your leaf vegetables from the bottom up and leave the middle to continue to grow more leaves quicker and faster. This is your shortcut to getting a massive amount of leaf vegetables.
When you pick your tomatoes, don't just grab and yank. Bend backwards on that little knuckle there so that it'll cleanly detach and you can keep the stem without damaging the mother plant. Quand vous cueillez vos tomates, arrachez pas juste la tomate dessus la plante. Pliez-la dessus la petite knuckle là, qui est dessus la tige pour faire sûr que la petite tige là, reste attachée à la tomate. Comme ça, elle va bien mûrir sans pourrir.
So here we go. We like to ripen our tomatoes indoors. The reason for that is around here in Kent County, we have a very short growing season. So it's rare that we're able to ripen our tomatoes fully on the vine. For the most part, the bulk of our tomatoes are going to be ripened indoors. We like to keep a cloth on top of it to keep the fruit flies off. Anytime you're going to ripen things over time, there's a few that's going to go bad and you're going to get the fruit flies go in there. You have to go through your stock periodically every couple of days and pick out the good ones. Once they're ripe, sometimes what we like to do is we like to freeze them in Ziploc bags. And then in the middle of winter when we want to make some sauces, or if we want to bottle a big batch of sauces, well, the tomatoes are all there ready to go. And while it's cold outside, it's a good time to be cooking big batches of preserves. Now remember, this is not a handle. You can't pick it up by the stem here. You got to keep this intact as long as possible so that the vegetable will last. And you have to be careful not to damage the skin or damage the vegetable at all. And if it's not damaged at all, it'll last a lot longer in storage.
Il faut manier les légumes délicatement pour ne pas les endommager. De cette façon, ils vont durer plus longtemps. Les courges ont besoin d'être exposées aux éléments pour durcir la peau avant de les entreposer. Chez nous, on les dépose sur le balcon pendant 7 à 10 jours avant de les rentrer à la maison pour l'hiver.
So in the pantry, the way to store your squashes is to keep them separate so that there's a bit of airflow in between. And these shelves have like little holes in them, like so, see? And it lets airflow underneath, around, and all that stuff. So all of this airflow is really important. You don't want a stagnant air because that's where the vegetables are going to rot. So you see, just store them in a nice, cool, unheated room. And that's how you keep your squashes for the season. And remember, eat them. If you see one that's getting a blemish, that's the next one to go. So this guy he lost his cap, and you see, if you look closely, he wants to start to mold right there. Well, that tells you that this is the one that's in the front, and these are the ones that needs to be eaten first. So always put in front the ones that need to be eaten next, and frequently inspect your crop to make sure that you don't waste any. You're better off eating a vegetable that's starting to go bad than let a whole batch go bad. For bottling, you keep them in the dark. Oh, look at that. I stashed some chips over there. So yeah, so identify and keep them well labeled. and keep them in the dark, so behind a cabinet. And dried herbs, we just like to keep them in a mason jar. So here we got some peppermint. So we just put these in a food dehydrator, and as soon as they're nice and dry, you just keep them in a nice dry container like so. Onions can be stored in the same bag as you would buy them. So you keep your onions nice and dry in an open bag like this. This is pretty packed. It might be a little bit over full. So, you know, just keep some of these bags that you get at the store, and store your onions in there. Onions, garlic, you name it. It all works. Have garlic. Sometimes I just tie a bunch of them together, and just harvest, let them sit, dry up, make sure the skin dries up nice, and use them as you go. So for carrots, we like to store our carrots in sand, like so. Basically, you just stack them up, a nice layer of sand, and a layer of carrots, not touching the carrots. You don't want the carrots to touch each other. Then you cover them up in sand, and then another layer of carrots that don't touch, another layer of sand and carrots. You can do this with turnips and any root vegetable, basically. You can put them all in there, and you lay them out on their side. You don't have to wash them. You don't have to do anything. This is still some of the soil it grew in, and that's fine. Just cut the tops off and lay them in. So you see, it's just a bunch of carrots in there. Keep them covered, and if you have cats, do not let the cover off. Take my word on that. There. So we keep these in the basement. And potatoes, well, just in a cool, dark place in the basement is good enough. That's all it takes. They'll keep. Don't wash them. Don't scrub them. Don't damage them. Just take them out of the ground, let the dirt dry on it, and put it away. It's good enough. So here's our tomatoes, frozen, ready to be made into sauce. You know, corn. You can basically take out as many as you want when you need them, and they don't have to be all perfect. There, you have some of the smaller ones. Use them all. It's all good. It all works. With your beans, when you blanch your beans, and we like to blanch our beans, you know, you always want to indicate the date that you kept them, and also you want to store in about what one portion would be. So basically, this fits in the pot that we would steam the beans. So we know that if we stack them in these bags, they'll that's perfect size for a side dish right there. So prepare in advance, divide them up in convenient bundles. And there you go. Little look at what a freezer at a homestead looks like. And check this out. We even have some lobster mushrooms foraging in the woods. If you're brave enough and knowledgeable, you want to be sure of your identification, but there's a lot of good food out there if you're willing to go out and go look for them. It's free food. Nature is generous with this stuff. May as well take them. Some black cherries from some of our wild trees that are growing in our woodlands. Take advantage of what your property is going to give you. This is great stuff. I might use this to flavor some kombucha. We might make some jam out of that. And in my meat freezer, here's something, pork chops. Don't freeze them in a great big ball. Freeze them up nice and flat so that they stack nice and they thaw easily, right? Like here we're a family of 3, this would be a meal for us. And so just set them up to prepare so that it's easy and convenient to use when it's time to use it. So I'll buy a whole pork loin, take it home, take the silver skin off, and slice them up into chops and put them to freeze like that. Save it.
Gardening is a resilient lifestyle. You can spend a lot of money on it or none at all. The plants don't care. All they want is sunlight, water, and good soil. Nature provides all that for free. If you're resourceful and willing to do the work, you can save a lot of money. When you surround yourself with food, a lot of your worries just fade away. I don't want to tell you how good it feels to have a full pantry. I want you to discover it for yourself. Le jardinage est un style de vie résilient. Vous pouvez dépenser beaucoup d'argent ou pas du tout. Les plantes ne carent pas. Tout ce qu'ils voulent, c'est de la bonne terre ensoleillée puis de l'eau. La nature fournit tout ça gratuitement. Si vous êtes débrouillard et prêt à faire le travail, vous pouvez économiser beaucoup d'argent. Lorsque vous vous entourez de nourriture, la plupart de vos soucis disparaissent. Je ne veux pas vous décrire le sentiment d'avoir le garde-manger plein, je veux que vous le découvriez par vous autres-mêmes.